You here? Yeah, yeah, I'm right back at you like I never left. And I'm gonna go this hard to my last breath. It's Lil Kenny Russell, Kanoom Consua Moon. You already know what you're gonna get when you step in this room. You're now dealing with Kanoom. Yeah, yeah, I'm here. While I'm here, I'm gonna make the information direct and clear because a lot of y'all can't hear. Yeah, yeah. Now, welcome back to Make My Ancestors Great Again. This is another episode of Ancestor Speak. This is Ancestor Speak, part 15. We're bringing on Malcolm X, and I don't own the video. This is a shared fair use. I'm just going to share um, Malcolm X speaking about what led up to his demise. Okay. The content came from King Seti, General Cyrus Sutin Seti. You can go find it at King Seti YouTube page. Okay. And you can watch the whole thing in its entirety. This is roughly about 6 minutes. I'm going to pause it maybe every 2 minutes just to give my little commentary, but I want to let the ancestors speak. El Haj Malik Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X, formerly known as Malcolm Little. Okay. So Malcolm was murdered February 21st, 65. His birthday is May 24th. So his birthday is approaching and his death day is approaching as well. So let's listen to Malcolm. This is what got him murdered. And I'm going to let him explain it to you. I don't want to let the cat out the bag, but he was betrayed um, and viciously murdered by the same people who he put on a high pedestal. And he would have gave his life for these same people. Okay. Well, it's really one person, but um, the organization itself. He would have gave his life for this organization. So like, share, subscribe, comment, and I thank you for watching. Let's look at Brother Malcolm. And this is 664. So this was like roughly 6 to 8 months before his death. Let's look at it.
Was designed to protect Mr. Muhammad himself, primarily because the image that he had created was the image that enabled his followers to remain strong in faith and things of that sort. And I didn't want to see any adverse effect or negative result develop in the faith of all of his followers. Mm-hmm. But actually, despite the fact that I tried to protect the Muslim movement, if you'll notice, they use their newspaper to slander me and to label me as a hypocrite and as a rebel. And Mr. Muhammad himself said that I defected. Well, in reality, I never even left the Muslim movement. They put me out. And they put me out because of what I knew. And what I knew was told to me by Mr. Muhammad's son, Wallace Muhammad himself. They put me out and they put him out.
Well, now, first of all, let's find out what it is that Wallace Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad's son, told you.
Well, number one, if you notice, the stick that I always used in presenting, representing, and defending the Muslim movement was the fact that it had the ability to reform the morals of the so-called Negro community. It eliminated drug addiction, alcoholism, fornication, adultery, loose sexual behavior, which meant that it eliminated bastard babies, illegitimate children. Well, as long as I knew that this was what it represented, and it gave me a strong stick, I could represent it and defend it. But
now, what Malcolm is saying there was he spoke initially, said everything he said prior to him finding out this information, and he confronted. He's speaking about Elijah Muhammad, who was the leader. He was basically the creator as well. Him and WD Farad Muhammad, but he was the founder of the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad. Okay, he's saying he confronted him with this information, and but prior to that, everything he said was to protect this Prophet Muhammad and the whole Nation of Islam understanding. And as long as he could use a stick, the stick he used was that this group or this religion had took people from off of drugs, alcoholism, sex out of wedlock, loose sex, creating bastard children, and things of that nature. As long as the group continuously stood for that and they stood on it, he was willing to defend it and represent it with his life. So that's what he's saying up to this point. But he found out some information from Wallace Muhammad, which is Elijah Muhammad's son. So let's continue.
We had a law which was that whenever any Muslim became involved in any kind of sexual relationship with someone to whom they weren't married, that person would be brought before the Muslim community, humiliated, and then isolated for from 1 to 5 years. This was our law. Well, in 1954, a teenage sister left Detroit and became one of Mr. Muhammad's personal secretaries. And there in the Chicago office, she became pregnant after being there for a year. And she was brought before the Muslim community and humiliated and isolated. And a year later, another secretary, this time one from Lansing, Michigan, came to Chicago. She also became pregnant. She was brought before the community and humiliated and isolated. And because the other person was never brought forth during this court session, it was concluded by all of Mr. Muhammad's followers that it was a non-Muslim who was the other party. Well, we grew so rapidly until that in 1957 or 58, the secretarial staff was expanded to, I think, 8 teenage sisters. In 1959, 6 of them disappeared. 2 of them reappeared in Philadelphia about 2 or 3 months later, and they were all right. The other 4 reappeared in 1960. All 4 of them had babies. All 4 of them had become involved with someone and become pregnant and had these children. So it was, from what I now know, when the 4 of them got back to Chicago and began to compare notes, they found that the same man had told all of them the same story and had made all of them pregnant, that the same man was the father of all 4 of their children and had also been the father of the children brought forth by the 2 secretaries who preceded them. So,
okay, now up to this point, it was 2 initial women, teenagers, one from East Lansing, Michigan, one from Detroit, Michigan, who was secretaries there, excuse me, and they both was found pregnant. And he said they had a law that whoever come up pregnant or somebody was being found cheating and things of that nature, they would bring the person out, humiliate them, and then excommunicate them from 1 to 5 years. So these 2 women were humiliated, put out in front of the Muslim Nation of Islam community, and they was excommunicated. He went on and said later years in the 50s, they expanded it to a 8 women secretary thing, excuse me. 6 of the women disappeared. 2 of them they found they was all right. 4 of them appeared with children. So now that's the total of 6 teenagers with children. And all of them, when they got back to Chicago, they compared notes and they said that the man who outed them was the father of all of them. He told them all the same story and things of that nature. But again, the Muslims didn't know who this person was. He still haven't unveiled who this person was. So they all thought that it was non-Muslim men. They just thought that some Christian men or some type of Hebrews or whatever the case may be got these women pregnant, and that's that. So that's where we're at now up until this point. Let's let the great ancestor continue.
this story was kept among these sisters until 1962. 2 of them rebelled against the person who was responsible and began to tell the story all over the city of Chicago. It caused many of the Muslims in the Chicago mosque to leave and go back out in the street. They knew it, and I knew nothing about it until 1963, when Mr. Muhammad's son, who had been in prison, came out, and he had been a minister, and he was very religious and spiritual. And when he began to hear these rumors around Chicago, he went to one of the sisters, and the sister admitted to him that the rumor was true. And it was he who first told me about it. And when he told me about it, I wrote to Mr. Muhammad and told him about it, and he admitted that he had a knowledge of it, and that he'd given me a religious explanation that would fit into prophecy and all of that. So I was quiet. And it wasn't until October of 1963 that it came up again. And when it came up again, I realized that the same person who had made these other sisters pregnant was still busy doing the same thing. He hadn't stopped. Two of the sisters had 2 children by the same man, and one of those 2 sisters was pregnant still, getting ready to have a 3rd child by the same man. So when it was known among the Chicago officials that I had a knowledge of this, they become very fearful of me. They became very antagonistic toward me, and they had to do something to diminish the authority that I had, for fear that if this became public knowledge, the followers would leave the Muslim movement and follow me. And it was at that time that they used the statement that I made against President Kennedy as a pretext to cut my authority, and some other things happened that finally produced the split, or forced the split. And when I made the split, the only reason that I didn't make this public knowledge was I knew the implications, and I felt that if the Muslims who were in the Nation of Islam knew it, that which enabled them to be so strongly religious and exercise moral discipline would be shattered, and it would cause all of them to go right back and start doing the things that they had been doing previously.
Who is the father of all of these various children whom you have enumerated?
The first one to tell me who the father was Wallace Muhammad, and he told me that the father was Elijah Muhammad himself. One of the sisters, he went to the home of one of the sisters, and when he walked in the door, she says, "I want to let you see something." And she showed him her child. She said, "Here's your brother, and your father is the father of this child." And then I questioned the sisters myself, because I was shook up. And they admitted to me that Elijah Muhammad was the father of their children. And I took it to him. And it was at that time he told me that he was Muhammad, the prophet, and that Muhammad had 9 wives. He also told me that he was David. He was the modern David, and that he was the modern Solomon, and that it was meant for him to fulfill today all of the things that they did back there.
And how many of these illegitimate children did he father with the sisters?
This is a damn shame. This great, honorable man, very young man too, because his actions, he was so active that he was very youthful. Okay, beautiful man, strong spirit. He only wanted to be a part of something that can be concluded righteous. He only wanted to be amongst men who he thought was trying their best to aggressively pursue righteousness. He went to the leader himself and brought him that information. When the leader, this turncoat, this clown, Elijah Muhammad, and I don't give a damn who don't like this. I said this before. I don't care about the Nation of Islam. I don't care about any religious group. I just don't. They're con men, convicts, con artists, pimps, hustlers, thieves, and all the rest of that silliness. Okay. Is it some great men in those organizations that I despise? Of course. Malcolm X was one. He couldn't be bought off. He didn't want to hear that silliness, fulfillment of prophecy. Brother, how can we tell people we're moral? We have one wife. We honor our wife. We're honorable men. How can we go around doing this to women? Teenage women, when this man was in his 60s and 70s, I believe, at the time. Fathering children, creating bastard children, children out of wedlock. So this was serious to this honorable king, this ancestor, El Hajj Malik Shabazz. This is what got him cut down in the best years of his life. Because when he brought this information to the masses, to the public, everything Malcolm did was enormous. So quite naturally, the news wanted to know what caused the split. And when he put this out and said he could no longer stand with this dishonor in his heart and just be silent about it, they killed him. Okay, this was 8/6/64. Malcolm X was viciously slain on February 21st, 1965, while his wife was pregnant with twins. Okay, so when people want to discuss the Nation of Islam and what they've done, I don't give a damn about what they've done. Straight up, I don't. And I don't give a damn about a Muslim man, even if it's a good one left, but he represents the Nation of Islam. I look at him every time with them silly, raggedy ass suits on and them haircuts and that silly nonsense that they stand for, the photograph on the wall of a dead white man. WD Farad Muhammad, that silly Elijah Muhammad, excuse me, this little short man who believed that this white man walked up out of the Bible or something, talking about he was the next coming, and he believed that this white man was his God, is a damn fool. Then he tried to pull some silliness on Malcolm X that he was Solomon, David, and the actual Muhammad. Okay, this is a damn shame. Rest in peace to El Haj Malik Shabazz, known as Malcolm X. That's my thoughts on the video. May his soul continue to rest, and may his spirit continue to be lifted up to the ancestors. It's a little Kenny Russell, Khanum, Consort Moon. You already know what you're going to get when you step in this room. You're now dealing with Khanum. This is what I do, and I love to do it. And before I take back what I said, I add some more to it. This is not to take Islam away from you. I don't care what you do or whoever else wants to do it. This is to let you understand. Even the man that believes in every word you taught him, and he's going to wear it better than you because you nothing but a crook and a convict. He's going to precede you if he really believes what you said, and it's pure. There's purity in it. The person will drive for that purity, exceed and pass you because your heart is rotten, and they will set you up and kill you. This is why religion, in my opinion, should be cast out. This is to restore spirituality, which was taken from you at the time religion was given to you. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and I thank you for watching. Education and preparation is the first step to retaliation. So before you pick up a weapon or religion, pick up some knowledge. Yeah, yeah.